Hi there guys, this is a response to your video on my videos about enlightenment. There was two I made. One was called something like what is enlightenment, and the other was to do with enlightenment and philosophy, and there's a couple more I've made since then guys, some of which you may have seen, you may have not. And I think it's great, you always tell me whether you like my videos or not. Like, you've got like this informal star rating going on somewhere. You're not going to like any of them, I can tell you that right now. Yeah, okay, I didn't make notes. Well, I did make notes, but I left them at work, so I'm just going to have to do this on the top of my head, I'm afraid. Several things. The term enlightenment is a real pain in the arse. I think you're pointing this out, and I agree with you in that regard. You know, in that first video I said there's two meanings of the word enlightenment. One is this, you know, kind of social movement that begins 17th century and takes you through into the current day, you know, the rise of autonomy, individual autonomy and rationalism and all that kind of stuff. And the other is this second meaning, you know, which is this, the one that's associated with mysticisms and religions and all those kind of metaphysical stuff, and which I'm associating after Damasio with a certain kind of brain state. I think it's a real shame that this second one's got the same name. I really do. You know, and I might move off to another name at some point, but the bottom line is, you know, that's the term that's used, so I can't really avoid that. You know, I would be disingenuine if I started pretending that people didn't call it that, because they just do. I think they're wrong. I think it's a mistake to call it that. I think it's confusing the feeling of knowing something with actually knowing something, and I think it's a category error. But you know, that's the term I'm using. So. But actually, if you don't like that, if you don't like me using that term, don't watch the other video I've made on this subject, because I call it God in that one, and you know, that's obviously a lot of baggage comes with that term. Okay, so that's the term enlightenment. I'm trying to use, although I'm using that term, I only mean by that what I say I mean, even though I am aware it comes with baggage. There's nothing I can do about that really. What else? Tree make a sound in the forest when it falls. I know you call bullshit on that. I don't think it is bullshit, and I think the analogy that you give, or the second example, you know, if you don't see a tree falling in the forest, does it actually fall? I don't think that's an accurate parallel you're drawing there. Yes, it does fall, and and when it falls, sure, it makes compression waves in the air, and those compression waves propagate. And if there was an ear there, attached to an auditory canal, attached to a head with a brain in it that's got all the auditory processing software, then yes, that compression wave made by the falling tree would undoubtedly cause the eardrum to vibrate and do all the rest of the stuff that causes that thing we call sound. But without the ear, it doesn't. And I know it sounds like nitpicking, and it is nitpicking, it is pedantic. You know, when Piro was talking about it, he was talking about devices, and yeah, you put a recording device there, and you can hear the sound on the recording device. Sure, but it's, at least this is my interpretation of it, it's a kind of Zen problem, isn't it? A Zen koan, a puzzle. But my interpretation is to encourage a person to be quite scrupulous about what they mean when they think things like that. You know, distinguishing terms like sound from descriptions of compression waves, and descriptions of what kind of instrumentation you would need to monitor a compression wave and to record it in some way. You know, it's a kind of a thinking discipline, I believe, that you bring to bear when you ask yourself those kind of questions. Because there isn't, you know, if you're saying sound, does it make a sound? You're really naming what kind of instrumentation you're putting in the space. You know, I don't know how much clearer I can be with that really. But you know, no one's disputing that it actually does fall. You know, and no one's the reality doesn't change. And I'm certainly not arguing for any kind of solipsistic, you know, the world only exists if you look at it. I'm not arguing for that kind of thing at all. My understanding of that Zen statement, and the variant on it to do with is there bright light in the centre of the sun, is, you know, as I say, it's a kind of mental hygiene or a mental discipline to do with not accidentally putting subjectivity into a question which could be objective. And as soon as you start using words like sound, you're including the presence of a particular kind of instrument, usually attached to a person's head, which is usually attached to their subjectivity. So it's really about that for me. But I may not have been clear on that, or I don't know. Okay, there's that. What else? Lizard brain. Lizard brain. Yeah. Okay. This is the. There's kind of 2 points on this one. Because because when I was talking about Damasio, and I have to say, I'm only picking up on Damasio little bits I've read on the net in a few videos. I've ordered his book off Amazon today, but I won't get it till the weekend, so I don't know exactly what he's saying. But assuming that there's something like that, and this is just an idea, isn't it? Assuming there's something like that, some glimmer of a very, very basic awareness that exists in his description in the brainstem. Let's just say there is that. And it doesn't just exist in humans, it exists in all sentient creatures, right down to lizards and perhaps even simpler animals than that. And it's the kind of core origin of something that in us we call consciousness, and other animals might call different things. It's the thing that's with the shusness in consciousness. It's that bit. I'm not worshipping it for a kick-off. I'm not saying it's fantastic and great, and it might be almost no more significant than recognising that everything's got a pulse, or recognising everything's got some other kind of bodily function. It might not be any more significant than that. I think there are ways of looking at it where it is more significant, but what for me the significance is that it's if it existed, it would be the marker of sentience. It is the thing that we would have in common with other sentient creatures, and I think that should be important to you, Gary, given that sentience is is what you need to suffer. If you don't have sentience, you don't suffer. Plants don't suffer because they have no sentience. They haven't got a brainstem. They haven't got the structures in their brain, really simple structures, which even the simplest tadpole has. Plants don't have those. So therefore they have no self-awareness in even a rudimentary form, and they cannot suffer. Whereas animals can, and humans can. And animals and humans share that function, share that feature. And it's not like DNA. Yes, we share DNA as well, but we share DNA with bananas, and I eat bananas all the time. So it's not that kind of sharing. It's a relatively unique aspect of shared experience that only sentient creatures have, and we can decide whether that's really important to us or not, but it's certainly interesting, I think, at least anyway, and could, if you wanted to, form the basis of an ethics or even a small philosophy. I don't think it has explanatory power. I mean, this is the way where it becomes problematic, I think, and where the use of the term enlightenment becomes problematic. It clearly does not have empirical explanatory power, and this is the mistake, I think, and the confusion that underpins a lot of kind of religious belief and metaphysical belief. Even if, assuming this is correct, and you can kind of meditate, look inside oneself, find the glimmer of basic awareness at the centre of one's being, and recognise that all sentient beings share that. Let's say that exists. That does not tell you anything about the way the world works, I don't think. It doesn't give you access to empirical truths about the wider world. So if you're looking for God inside there, or if you're looking for an explanation of universal facts of physics, you're looking in the wrong direction. You need to look outside of yourself for that stuff. And I think, as I say, when people confuse the two enlightenments and think you can find physical truths by looking at this in that kind of meditative direction, your eyes are pointed in the wrong direction, really. So again, whilst I would fully acknowledge that confusion is often made, and it's not helped by the fact that both these, whatever they are, both these perspectives, if they are that, tend to be called enlightenment. That's not what I'm beginning, and I wouldn't support any of that confusion if I could avoid it. Anything else? Well, just this meditation thing. I mean, you're comparing meditation to either being high on weed or being tired, And that's not meditation. I mean, I don't know if you've meditated or not, but if you have, you'll know that's not the case. It's almost exactly the opposite of that, in fact. Being, people who meditate a lot, I haven't done much of it, but people who've meditated a lot that I know and that I've read about, describe an experience which is almost diametrically opposed to that. It's about being extremely awake and extremely not high and not in that alternative state of consciousness which shuts down large parts of the brainstem, if anything, rather than focus attention on them. Yeah, you might not be able to think and you might get a bit spacey and vacant, but that's not the same thing as being in a meditative state, which is a highly focused state, for want of a better word. So that's that. I think that's probably it, actually. Let me just recap, just to make absolutely sure that we're not misunderstanding one another. Enlightenment, crappy term, but it's the one that's around right now, so I'm going to use it, but I want to make it clear what I mean by that, and I don't mean the word as it features, in religion and metaphysical practices. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just using it in the way that I indicate. Secondly, it may be the fact that we seem to be able to gain access to some form of basic awareness through processes like meditation, but perhaps other processes, doesn't necessarily mean that those processes are unique and valuable, although they do feel very valuable and they feel more real than real. That doesn't necessarily mean they are real. It can delude a person into thinking they are, but I don't think they necessarily are. Third thing, yes, it is reptile consciousness. But reptile consciousness is alright. We have reptile consciousness as well as all the other stuff. And all sentient living creatures have reptile consciousness. If a creature is capable of suffering, it is capable of having, then it's got somewhere in it that basic consciousness. And that seems like a good basis for a vegetarian to me. What else? I can't even remember what else I said now. Anyway, you get the general picture. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.